What's up, beautiful people? Today is June 21st, and we're here to talk about the weekly energy. Right. So, how's everybody doing out there? Hope y'all doing fantastic. Um, the energy. Energy is truth, and there's a lot of truth to talk about right now with all the stuff going on here. I hope you're all doing well with all these crazy energies happening. We are in eclipse season. And with eclipse season, we went through the period of that portal, if you will, which was bringing us a lot of changes. Thank you very much. I love you too. Appreciate you. So, no, I haven't been on here as much as I normally am. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in, for watching, for liking, for sharing, for subscribing, and for following me on my journey while we go through all these very, very deep and internal transformations. And that's what, retrograde season is really all about. Smoke and mirror visuals. I love that name. Yeah, Capricorn. Goat, baby. Let's get it. So this week we have the full moon going on at 3 degrees of Capricorn. Now, I made a video about that. Good to see you too, Mama Jody. We have, this full moon in Capricorn is going to be pretty intense. I made a video about that on my YouTube. You can go check that out. I made the video for my Iboga. I have not uploaded it yet because it's funny. Like when I go to upload these videos, like the part that takes me the longest is actually making the thumbnail, because for some reason, Mercury retrograde, which is ending tomorrow. Hallelujah. But with that Mercury retrograde, man, things have been just falling apart, and technology is being a bit difficult. But I'm making it happen anyways. So, it's all gravy and it's all good. But, this full moon is going to be 7 degrees away from my sun and 12 degrees from my Mars. So I feel like, at least for me, it's going to be a pretty big one. And all you Capricorns out there, or you Cancers too, because, we have the sun in Cancer. And in fact, today is the first day of Cancer season. So happy birthday to all my Cancers out there. And this Cancer season is going to bring a whole new type of energy. And remember, this is a cardinal sign. Okay, so we have more energy coming into cardinal signs, which means new beginnings, right? Taking action on these new directions. With the ending of the mutability, it's going to be taking us out of that, like, where do we go? Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen? To like, okay, now I see step one and I'm going to take step one. But of course, with all the mutable energy that has happened over really this whole first half of the year, it's really set us up to need to be flexible in our approach. Like thank you very much. And happy Father's Day too, to all my fathers out there doing the right thing and, being the best fathers that y'all can be. Not to get too political, but, our country, or our world in essence, is under attack of the divine masculine, of like the alpha kind of energy. Now, some aspects of alpha energy can be, tumultuous and destructive, but some are required. That's where, true leadership comes into play. And we all have bits and pieces of our consciousness that are, an alpha type energy. So, with all this brainwashing, really, and trying to, get us to be more soft, and, soft is necessary. Okay. Of course, we all have feelings, we all have emotional bodies, and I believe that true divine masculine energy is all about leadership of our lives. Like, we have to take leadership for our lives, which is in essence, facing the victim mentality that we all have in our consciousness, and allowing that to purge and come out so that we take responsibility for our own shit. And what I mean by that at the very core, all right, if you are, or someone in life always seems to be blaming external sources for the shit that's not going right in their life, that is a victim mentality. Look, like, life isn't fair. Okay, that's a given. Like, living in this world that we live in this matrix, it's not fair. But fairness comes from our subjective perspective, right? What we think is fair comes from our own emotional experiences and comes from our own upbringing. where conditioning tells us that this is right, this is not right. And some things are clearer than others, but at the very core, right, when we see things that we feel in our heart are not right, it's our responsibility to make the changes and take action on these changes that we see in the world that we feel are not right or not in alignment with divine source energy. So I encourage you, especially this week during the Capricorn full moon and while Mercury is going direct. Remember, whenever a planet is getting ready to transition retrograde or direct, that is a time for us that is going to be extra powerful, extra potent. And Mercury is still in Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini, right? So the Mercury energy is still very powerful and very strong. And it is whenever, especially with Mercury, but whenever any planet goes retrograde, when it's direct, okay, it is bringing us into the future, bringing us forward into new experiences, new situations, meeting new people in our lives. Whenever it goes retrograde, it is looking back over things, experiences, situations in our life that have tried to teach us something, but we maybe didn't get the full lesson. Okay. And especially if there's an aspect to another planet, this means that there's something that's going to come up, but there's a 3-phase process, like a 3-stage process where at first it brings it up into conscious awareness, like a bubble, and it brings it up into conscious awareness. And then when it makes the second aspect of, it goes retrograde or it's going direct and it say it's conjuncting another planet. All right. It's bringing it up, forward moving into our consciousness from the subconscious to the conscious. Then when it goes retrograde, it passes again. It brings something up inside to see, okay, this came up and now this actionable situation happened, but I have to still go within to understand it fully so that I can unpack it, if you will. All right. Then when it goes direct again and it has that third aspect, that's when it comes to conclusion or it comes to fruition. So once this energy comes into fruition, that is when we fulfill the karmic lesson or the learning lesson, if you will, so that we can move forward and through it. And whatever happens, we have to be flexible in our approach. Now, we also have Neptune going retrograde today on the 24th, literally the same day that we're having the full moon. So with Neptune being stationed as well, the Neptune energy is extra strong, and Mercury made a square to Neptune, and it's going to make another aspect to it when it comes into 23, 24 degrees of Gemini. So it's going to be moving fast. We're not going to hit that until probably next week, like late next week. All right. But whenever Mercury and Neptune, these are the communication energies in our chart. Now, Neptune is the transpersonal planet, right? It's the one that's deep in our subconscious, and Mercury is in our consciousness. It's our intellect. It's the left brain. So we have the left brain communicating with the right brain in a tumultuous aspect, right? They're like, "Arr." So Neptune can be illusion and delusion, but it's also our connection, our communication to source energy. This is our higher mind. All right. With that connection, with that tumultuousness, there's something that has been going on during this Mercury retrograde that's going to come up. And I believe, or I feel that this week, okay, as Mercury comes closer to that square to Neptune, it's going to bring that up, especially with Neptune stationing to go retrograde. Neptune will be retrograde once they make that final square, right? So with that, Neptune, the higher mind's going to be bringing us inside, but our conscious mind's going to be bringing forward with that. And this is karma, all right, especially with Saturn still, it's going to be trining the North Node and sextile the South Node here for quite some time, which is beautiful. This is ending karmic cycles, all right, but we still have free choice, free will. So we have to really, what is the communication that we have to have with ourselves? Or maybe we had a vision, right? Like, especially this year with all the change going on, we have a vision of what we want to create. And maybe in some ways, this vision is so big or so different or so new that we're asking ourselves, how the hell are we going to do this? And with it being mutable, a lot of things have to change. So there may be some things that we're afraid of that we have to go into, or we may have some things that we're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to, it might be like we have to walk in eggshells, or we're feeling a little off or weird about something. And, with Mercury being here in Gemini, we're going to get really cerebral about it, really in our head. So we have to be careful not to get too in our head about things, if we don't understand something, guys, we have to let it go, because being flexible in our approach with this mutable energy is so important. All right. So hold the vision in your mind and stay flexible in your approach, because it can almost seem like things are going in a different direction that we want it to, or that we think it should go. And then suddenly it takes another turn, and then boom, like things just line up. And right now, things are lining up in very unexpected ways, especially because we also just had that Saturn square to Uranus for the second time. We're going to have a third one in December. All right. But this, again, is working with the retrograde energy and also the eclipse energy to really make us look at our shit to move forward. All right. Spiritual gardener, what's up? Yes. Right. Miss Libra. Libra. Hey, how you doing? So of course, the sun being in Cancer, we're going to be more emotional, but the sun likes being in Cancer. Not to mention too, that the United States chart, the sun is in Cancer as well. So in the United States, I feel like, with that too, the sun is eventually going to oppose Pluto. We'll talk about that later on when we get to it. And Mars is also going to be opposing Saturn retrograde this week as well. All right. So with Mars opposing Saturn, this is going to be a very deep reality check, if you will. Okay. Saturn is, of course, the Lord of Karma. Now, the good thing is, because it has its aspects to the nodes, this is going to be very beneficial about moving into our future, letting go of things that no longer serve us. In a big way, this is about belief systems, shedding belief systems that are no longer serving us and that maybe have been really sabotaging us, maybe bringing up the wounded child or the victim within us, or even, the prostitute. Now, let me say something about the prostitute. I made a video about all the survival archetypes. If you would like to go way deep into those, because for me personally, when I was going through my dark night of the soul and my deepest parts of my spiritual awakening, that really helped me to understand how I was sabotaging myself. And typically speaking, especially when we're going through a deep transformation, all these archetypes will come up. And look, they're unconscious for the most part until we really get brutally honest with ourselves. Okay, so now when I'm talking about the prostitute as a survival archetype, this is where we are willing to sell ourselves or sell our soul, if you will, for something like money or image or ego-based or driven desires that are not for our highest good. So, where is it that you sell yourself for things that that you really deserve better? It's a self-worth thing, okay? And Sylvester Stallone's story is a perfect example of the inner prostitute, right? We all have a price to sell what we never wish to sell. Okay, that really doesn't make sense to me, but sure, whatever we believe, we achieve, and that's all about what the South Node is all about. And Saturn is sextile on the South Node, which is really having us take a deep look at our belief systems, where our mind is at, right? Ruby, how much what? How much? What are you talking about? Of course, we also pretty much all this week we have a grand fire trine. All right, and actually on the 22nd tomorrow, we're going to be having the moon rather conjunct the South Node with that grand trine and with Saturn sextiling it. So emotionally, we're going to see, right? Let's see. We might not sell out for $1,000, but if someone wrote a $3 million check, we might, like a musician, for example. Well, maybe, and that happens a lot. And that all depends on what your values and your morals are. And that's everything that we're looking at right now, right? What are our values and our morals, and what do we really believe in is right or wrong to us? Now, just because something is right or wrong to us does not mean that it's right or wrong for everyone. It just means that what we feel is right. And maybe we have to do that to learn a lesson. But especially now, we're seeing a lot of people, especially like in Hollywood, right? We're seeing a lot of people that are paying the karmic price for embracing the inner prostitute, for really dark and malevolent or nefarious, decisions. Like case in point, that soccer player, I don't know what his name is, but it was all over the news. He was promoting Coca-Cola, right? And so he was having an ethical and moral, dilemma. So when he was he had some press conference and he pushed away the Coca-Cola. He said, hey, drink water. Now that, to me, that is brave. And that is looking at the prostitute and saying, look, I'm not going to sell myself for this anymore. I'm gonna do the right thing for what I believe in. So that's what I mean by the prostitute. Are you looking at something that you don't believe in, but then looking at the money and being like, ah, well, this can give me this and that. But ultimately karma is energetic. So just like, say, for example, you're having a personality conflict with someone, right? And you see that, well, I don't like how they are. I don't think they're morally and ethically sound. So I'm going to say something to them. Well, a higher vibrational approach to that would be like, okay, why am I being triggered by this? And what is it trying to teach me by being triggered, right? So just by you changing your own vibration, that will change the entire experience and process of what's going on. Okay, so this all, look, at the end of the day, at the very core, this is about us looking at ourselves and changing ourselves within in order to meet our own ethical and moral standards. And this is where Saturn is coming in, saying, hey, look, where are you selling yourself? Where are you blaming others? Where are you going out there and looking at these things that are not really serving you, but you're doing it anyways because, you know, maybe you don't feel good enough, or maybe it's going to help you get a stepping stone to the next place, but you're violating your own boundaries. Okay. Boundaries are a big thing with this as well. And with Mercury going direct, this is going to bring downloads and epiphanies and aha moments all over the place. But when it comes into its next square with Neptune, that's when Neptune's going to confuse it again a little bit. But the confusion is going to bring us to most likely a part of ourselves that we're lying to ourselves. All right. So again, brutal honesty with our own self and allowing the higher mind, the higher consciousness of taking responsibility and not being a prostitute or a victim or a wounded child, and doing the responsible thing. And we all know deep down, like after you make this decision, you feel it. You're like, well, I'm not really happy with the decision, but it's better than nothing. Or like, yes, maybe it didn't give me everything that I need right now, but it feels right. And when you do things that totally feel right in your heart, like, you know what, I did the right thing and I feel right about what I did. It may not give you the immediate result right there, but karma is playing and it's going to have a ripple effect in the cosmos at the fifth dimension, at the higher dimension. And then good things come in afterwards. Okay. After all the smoke clears and the dust settles, then something from far left field comes out. I kind of experienced this myself. Like, when I did this Iboga ceremony, like I was terrified going into it, but I felt called to it so deeply. When I did, I met the guy that ran this Iboga ceremony. Like I really resonated with him. And for years, I've been doing this work and I've just been praying that, that I would be able to find someone that I resonate with to guide me, to teach me, to learn how to work with these medicines in a responsible way and help others with, in a deeper sense, right? But I need to be able to go down to the jungle and do the work down there and work with someone that understands like the indigenous processes and traditions, right? I screenshotted and saved your happiness chemicals hack post. Good stuff. Awesome, man. I'm happy that helped you out. And and it's so interesting because right now, ever since really I did Iboga, I got all these new things coming in that are really teaching me a whole new level of things. And like you see it, like I'm looking in hindsight, I'm seeing, wow, everything that's been happening has been to teach me and to help me grow. I've learned so much about relationships as well, about our abandonment issues, rejection issues, and commitment, and, like partnership, and how I get in my own way when it comes to commitment and when it comes to, really being in situations that I want to be in, but I'm afraid because of the level of vulnerability. Now, with Mars opposing Saturn, that is going to bring up a level of vulnerability with us. Going to bring up probably some frustrations, some slowing down of progress in order for us to be able to face some kind of things so that we can grow through it, right? We have Jupiter retrograde right now as well. So pretty much, we're going to have 4 planets in retrograde here for pretty much the next, 4 months. And this is allowing us to make the corrections that we need to correct. And we're still going to be moving forward. Like, don't get me wrong, but we have to learn these lessons so that when these planets start going direct and we come into the next phase of these energies towards the end of the year, that is when shit is going to start really moving forward. All right. Is that a Capricorn thing? Relationship issues? Well, Capricorn, like I put a post on my Instagram recently that it was supposed to be a joke, funny, but some people actually took it personal. But it was Capricorn expressing their feelings, and it says like Capricorn says they're open and the door's open, come on in, and it shows a picture of a door with like a cactus on the door handle, right? So of course, if you grab it, it's gonna bite you. It's gonna take a lot to get in there. And I think Capricorns is, depending on, like you can't just stereotype these things because it goes much deeper than just a sun sign. But I know for me personally, like from my conditioning experiences growing up, I also have Chiron conjunct my ascendant. So, my identity, it comes from a wounded place for most part. That's why I do all this work. And so it's difficult for me to be vulnerable because of my abandonment issues. Now I have worked through that, but I think that Capricorns take a little bit longer to learn the lesson. Because we are a cardinal sign, but Capricorns tend to be slow and methodical and very careful and strategic about the growth and process because, especially we've been hurt at a very, very deep level. But the fact is that this work is all about, identifying these things within us. And whenever things are coming into our life, and I this is a law that I live by within myself now. Whenever any kind of conflict comes up, whenever I get triggered, first thing I do is I ask myself, okay, why am I being triggered? What is it about me that feels cognitive dissonance with this situation, right? Yeah, but, with that said, Musemi, when we learn permanently. It's embedded in our consciousness. So it may take us a long time to learn, but we get it, right? We get it and we grow and we honor that part of ourself. And then it's there. It's like not going anywhere. All right. Where some people, they'll get something, but then they'll get, bored with it, and then they'll make the mistake again. And then it just gets worse and worse. Just like some people, make a lot of money and then they'll lose a lot of money and then they'll make a lot of money and lose a lot of money. Well, Capricorns tend to slowly but surely build up and up and up. And then when they make it there, they've developed the consciousness characteristics to establish the foundation so that, they know how to keep it there and it will not go back down. It'll just keep going up. All right. Just remember that because it's very important to honor this. All right. But this week, I'm really grateful and happy to see this grand fire trine here between Mars and Chiron in the South Node, with the moon hitting there today and tomorrow. But, Mars trine Chiron. Now, Mars and Chiron have a very similar energy, right? This is honoring the divine masculine again, but this requires vulnerability. Chiron at 12 degrees, almost at 13 degrees. And, the higher degrees that that Chiron gets into in Aries is about, I am, or who am I? And this is all about our identity. The deepest wounds that we feel in our consciousness, especially when connecting with Mars, is about the divine masculine. Now, when I say that, that's about how we go out into the world, right? This is identifying and honoring the ways that we structure our life, the way that we structure our consciousness, our mind, the way that we structure like our day, how we do things. And maybe you've been procrastinating or being lazy or, overwhelmed with everything that's going on in the world, or not really sure what you want to do for work. Or if you're working somewhere, you're like, where am I going to go next? I don't know. And a lot of this, we have opportunities coming in that are testing our self-worth, right? That's Uranus and Taurus, okay? Because Uranus was direct and Saturn was retrograde in the Saturn-Uranus square, this is having us look at, okay, what control dynamics are we exhibiting that are keeping us from evolving? And let me tell you, for those of you that have really hardcore control dynamics or, really trying to control things, stuck in that Saturnian energy, you guys are having a really, really rough time with this. I have been running into so many people having so many issues with not being able to let go, because in order to be able to grow, there are going to be things that we have to embrace and let go of in order to grow into this next version of who you want to be. But Uranus brings us into very uncomfortable situations. It has us face this difficult truth, and it doesn't feel good. But Saturn is here. Of course, Saturn is sextile to Chiron as well. And Chiron is also semi-sextile to Uranus. And this is going to be happening for at least the next year and a half. All right. And this is a beautiful aspect. I mean, Saturn is making so many good aspects. The only difficult aspect is with Mars. And Mars is in Leo, right? Mars is home. Mars rules Aries, and it's also exalted in Scorpio. So it loves being in Leo because Leo is a fellow fire sign, right? And it's trying to its home sign. So we want to acknowledge the frustration, the irritation, the annoyances, or the skin crawling kind of feeling that we feel in our hearts when it comes to this, and honor the foundation that we're setting for this new world. Basically, 2021 is a number 5 year in numerology, and that means 5 is change. It's excitement. It's action. It's we got to do something. We got to make some shit happen. That's why we see also cryptocurrency blowing up and shifting the whole world currency dynamics. Now, I believe that Uranus and Taurus is bringing us into a whole new way that we approach currency in our consciousness. Meaning, what is currency in the first place? Currency is a way to measure what we value. Okay. And for a long, long time, that has been the dollar or some kind of paper, currency. Now, we're basically printing invisible money, and even cryptocurrency it's like monopoly money. It's fake. It's taking energy and it's shifting into currency. But what I believe is going to happen once everything crashes, because that's inevitable, right? Once that happens, people aren't going to have money. In fact, resources are going to become very difficult to come by. Food, the meat industry is being attacked. Food is going to be difficult to get. Water, probably, with all the poisons and the crap that that we're exposed to. Gold and silver may help too, but this is really going to be about what our services, what our gifts are, right? So say for example, suddenly gas hikes up to about $10-12 a gallon, which I believe is probably going to happen in the next 6 months to a year. All right. Once gas gets that high, then we're not going to have, new exchange of goods and services are needed. So once that happens, right, then a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford to drive around. Only the rich and wealthy are going to be able to handle that. So then what do? If we can't get around, then we're going to have to not bribe, but, try to get people to trade whatever it is that we have. Now, I believe that everybody here has a purpose, right? We all have a purpose. We all have something that we're good at. For me, it's healing. It's helping people grow. It's microscopy. It's astrology. It's working with the human body to balance it out, doing energy work to clear shit. So all this stress that is going to come from all these things, yes, we all need each other. All this stress, people are going to be needing healing big time. So if money is scarce and I need gas, then if someone comes to me and needs healing, then I'm going to want to trade. Okay, I'll trade you a session with whatever's going to help you for 10 gallons of gas so that I can get around and drive around. Right now, that's just an example, but you get the picture, right? Same with foods and goods and services. I don't know what's going to happen with the food industry, but the soil is shit, and we're going to have to all learn to start growing our own food. And that's also what Uranus and Taurus are all about. It's about agriculture. It's about looking at the whole industry of how we make food. All right. And find ways to get nutrients back into the soil so that we can grow and learn. So, our diets may change. People are moving all over the place, to establish new homes. But also with all this change, right? Blue flame integration. I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Dried it as soon as I was finished. It started raining at least. I hate what happens when you clean your car and then you're all happy and nice. It smells beautiful, and then boom, it rains and it just destroys the whole shit. What are you gonna do, right? So Mars opposed to Saturn. This is going to be a little bit difficult, all right? But we're being supported through the grand trine and through the sextile and trine of the North Node. But it's a reality check, right? Simplicity is definitely coming back. Blue flame integration, Aries Sun, Cap Moon. I am an Aries rising and a Cap Sun. Represent, yo. Hell yeah. Now, all right. So let's move on to the 23rd, now actually the 22nd. So tomorrow is when Mercury goes direct. Hallelujah. Let me tell you, my car took a shit. My computer's been acting all kinds of funky and weird, and just my head's been all like fuzzy and shit. This is, this is all Mercury retrograde stuff. Thank God it's going direct tomorrow. And we're supported with this grand trine. We actually have some really good aspects here, but you can't fight the flow of the new. If you're having a rough time right now, is because you're fighting the flow of the new. All right. Getting in your head about shit that, is bigger than us. Things are trying to clear. But if our conscious mind is trying to figure it all out, we're going to keep ourselves stuck. Now, I will say that once Mercury goes direct, it's going to start to clear all that stuff up. Thank God, especially if you're a Gemini or a Sagittarius, because that's where the nodes are. All right. You told my car Memorial Day, so bike it is for the time being. Well, there's a lot of car stuff going on too. And, it is what it is. We're going to make do with what we've got, right? Yes. Let me see here. So on the 24th, we have Neptune. So basically when we're having this full moon, we're going to be having Neptune station to go retrograde. Now, Neptune is in the background, right? But this is that like deep down feeling. You may just get the feeling like, I just want to go party and just not think about things, or I just might want to lay around and do nothing. Or maybe you're having some like reality checks, like, man, I'm not really feeling the things that I used to do, or why is everything happening the way it is? I don't know really how to move through this. This is where, again, trust. We have to allow our heart, let your conscience be your guide. If you want to go back to, what is that, Pinocchio? Let's see here. The world breaks everyone. Afterwards, many are strong in the broken places. That is it. That is true. The Age of Pisces philosophy was. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. The Age of Pisces energy was all about suffering into purification. Like we need to suffer in order to purify ourselves. The new energy, the energy of Aquarius, which we're in the middle of going through, but it's going to take hundreds of years. This Age of Aquarius is 26,000 years long. So we are literally here to plant the seeds of change. But this is bigger than us. This is not just us right now. This is for our children. This is for, this is also, we're clearing ancestral trauma. We're clearing things from generation upon generation back in the day. And some of us are brought here, the light workers of starseeds. Anyone, in my opinion, anyone that has a yod in their birth chart. All right. If you want to know if you have a yod in your birth chart, let me know. Let's do a reading. Go to spiritualbodybuilder.com. Let's make it happen. All right. We have to allow ourselves to go into those uncomfortable places in order to grow and thrive, really. And, before we go into a major change, we have this vision in our mind of what the other side is going to look like, but that is our ego. The fact is that we don't know what it's going to look or feel like. And sometimes when we get there, we look around and we're like, I didn't sign up for this shit. Like, this does not resonate with me. This is not where I wanted to be. And this is where we have to let go of expectations, because expectation is the root of all suffering, right? So we have to be careful with expectation. And Neptune, with it being really strong like this, can bring up a lot of expectation. But I want to read you guys the inside degrees for this full moon in Capricorn, because this energy, I feel, is going to be sort of the nucleus of this energy. And we have to, this is really about reality check time. And of course, Capricorn represents foundations, setting new foundations. Okay. It's really going to come in to fruition, if you will, when the sun opposes Pluto, because, whenever Pluto's involved, it's deep, it's death and rebirth, and it's going to bring us a whole new life. But 3 degrees of Capricorn says this: a woman sniffing pepper and sneezing violently. That doesn't sound really exciting. Attraction and repulsion, convictions, beliefs, antipathies, and judgments. Being confronted karmically with whatever you most phobically seek to run away from. Mercilessly and ruthlessly over and again, forced to come to terms with what you hate and cannot deal with. the fast and strong and hard path to get through mountains of karma and move onward. Yet each episode, every circle of recapitulation tends to be engulfing and consuming. You must discover the lost art of taking up karmic lessons without any indulgence in self-flagellation. If you can meet it and release it, get inside of it and be done with it, the process works. But if you linger over right and wrong, blame and praise, the swirls pull you too far under too long, and the path through becomes a repetition compulsion with very little real breakthrough. All right. And I see a lot of people that are getting lost in the rumination or the trying to understand it or figure it out or looking at every detail and knowing, connecting the dots. Look, the dots are not going to connect until hindsight, until afterwards. So whenever all this is going on, it's saying that accept the attractions and repulsions, accept the polarity, the yin and yang of what feels right, of what doesn't feel right. All right. And we're going directly into the center of our deepest fears, of our deepest phobias. So we've been running from this deep phobia our entire lives. And it's interesting, when I did Iboga, when I was going into it, I literally thought or felt like I was going to die. I was ready to die. I was going into it like it's either I die or I make it through and come out the other side. And that is literally the attitude, the mindset that we have to have, because we don't know. We may feel like something big is coming up, but typically speaking, if you're going into something that's going to heal you, when you're working with Kambo or ayahuasca, or even going into, say, like a military mission, or anything that you feel passionately that's going to change you or change the world, or fulfill some kind of mission that you feel like you have to create or complete. We all have that feeling, like, at least me, I feel like I have a mission in this world, right? To help people, to heal people, to create stability and balance in other people's lives, because I can see through a lot of shit. Mercilessly and ruthlessly over and over again, forced to come to terms with what you hate and cannot deal with. This is the shit that triggers us the most from the place when we were children and we were vulnerable and we had no choice, but we had to go through it, right? It's the saying, look, you have to accept this feeling, this situation, this experience. You have to let it go through you, okay? If you can meet it and release it, get inside of it and be done with it, the process works. If you can let go and surrender to the process and be in the middle of your deepest part of your shadow and allow it to unfold, allow it to break free, break through and teach you, you realize that the fear was false evidence appearing real. It was not an actual threat. It was your perception of a threat that was embedded into your central nervous system from childhood that you've been avoiding because you don't want to feel that feeling again. But in order to clear it, you have to feel that shit again so that you can release it and learn the lesson from it and actually shift your vibration. So this is a very, very intense and deep process that we're going to be going through. And our mind is honestly our biggest enemy when we try to control it. So Uranus is saying it's time to let go of control. It's time to embrace the unknown. It's time to face your fears. And when you do this, you will evolve. Like, for me, like, I have a very addictive nature to myself. So when I get passionate about something, like when I was bodybuilding, I was so hardcore into it that I sacrificed relationships and money and time. And I was obsessed. All right. And then I did very well. Right. I created amazing physique, but in the process, I did it in an unhealthy way. And I ended up sacrificing my own health and wellness. Not to mention that when I was in the best shape of my life, I felt like shit because I didn't respect myself. I treated myself like shit. I was chasing perfection basically, and perfection doesn't exist, right? So I had to go through a lot of like losing all my muscle and having, gut issues. And I had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and, just my gut wasn't working. And I was having these random pains all over the place. And, I was taking way too many supplements and way too much performance enhancing shit. I had to stop it all. And that really messed with my psyche. But I came through the other side with a massive amount of knowledge, so that now I know, okay, this is how I can create a good, healthy physique. First, by not focusing on what I look like, but how I feel. If I feel great and I look good, maybe I'm not as shredded as I used to be, or maybe I'm not as, on the outside, I don't look physically, close to perfect as I want to be. All right. But that's okay, because I'm healthy on the inside too. It's the shit that you can't see that you really have to focus on in order to keep yourself grounded and the foundation solid. When you sacrifice the health of the unseen, the microscopic world, what's up, Miguel? Go ahead, ask your question. When you sacrifice the microscopic and the things that you can't see, eventually those come out and they show on the outside. And, they're going to have to teach you a lesson the hard way. So guys, don't be learning the hard way through your control dynamics. Surrender, open it up and let it go. Okay. The performance enhancing stuff. I will answer what I can. There's only so much stuff I can say on this platform. Okay. Cause I'm being watched, but that's okay. That's why when we go over to the opportunity community, I can talk about everything and not worry about that shit. So big full moon in Capricorn here. That's going to be leading us into July. Let's see, for the rest of the week, Mercury is direct, now Neptune on the 25th. Now we have Neptune retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Pluto retrograde. And on the 25th, right after this full moon, we're going to have the moon going to be conjuncting Pluto. And we have Venus coming up. Actually, hold on a second. I just noticed something. On the 23rd, so the day before the full moon, this is going to be a big week, guys. Hold that thought. Okay, so we're going to actually have Venus oppose Pluto at the same time that Mars is coming up to its opposition to Saturn. That's huge. All right, Miguel, is 900 milliliters, you mean milligrams of test a week no bueno, or is it best if cut back? That's way too much, bro. You don't need that much. And of course, it all depends on how old you are. Like, have you got your blood work done? Have you seen what's going on in your body? But generally speaking, 900 milligrams is overkill. The maximum amount of test I would take a week could probably be 500 milligrams, if that. And if you're taking that much, you should definitely take an anti-estrogen with it, because you're definitely eventually going to get some gyno or an overstimulation of estradiol, which is going to create some serious problems in the long run. Okay. Yeah, so I would take less. And if you're younger than, I'd say 28 to 30, I would say don't even get on anything. Really, like, you need to maximize, like, okay, so not to switch subject real quick, but I'm going to switch subject. So when it comes to working out, when it comes to fitness, you want to maximize your natural potential. Okay, I didn't start working with performance enhancing stuff until I was 30. All right. I maximized my potential, for 12 years before that. When and I don't look at it as cheating. Okay. Especially with all the chemicals. I mean, look, they put hormones and chemicals and shit in meat and dairy. So you're actually, for all those like, oh, I'm a natty and I'm playing that game. If you're eating dairy and you're eating meat, you're getting hormones in your body and you're actually doing yourself a huge disservice. So the whole idea of being natty or not natty is complete bullshit. And that's more brainwashing. Okay. As we get older, especially men, okay, our testosterone levels are plummeting. And this is the attack on the divine masculine in this world. All right. 20 years ago, we didn't have this problem. Guys in their 40s still had higher normal testosterone levels. Your natural testosterone should be between 800 and 1200 milligrams per deciliter. All right. If it's lower than that, which when you go to a doctor, it has to be below like 300. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Western medical system is completely fucked and completely off. That's just my personal experience. And, a healthy 25-year-old male will have natural testosterone levels between 800 and 1200. Now, you also have to look at the free versus the total testosterone to see if it's converting properly, because we have a lot of hormone disruptors in our cosmetics and in foods and in other things that we use on our body that will interfere with hormone productions. Okay, hormone imbalances are a major problem for practically everybody that I work with, especially doing microscopy. It's absolutely terrible. Okay, so you want to like bring it a little higher than normal is okay in my book, but going too high, like 900 milligrams, is too much. It's overkill. Once you get to a certain point, your body gets so saturated that it's not absorbing anymore. So you're basically just going straight to side effects. Okay. You might feel bloated and be holding water and get really nasty pumps, but that's only going to last so long because you're pushing your body into a perpetual anaerobic state. And then it's going to cause anaerobic fermentation in your cellular tissue, and that can lead to cancer. All right. There's so many layers to this, guys, and so many things don't understand this. Do your research or work with a coach. Like, you want to work with me, I'm happy to guide you in this process. All right. But you got to be careful with people that you're listening to. Like, you go on to a lot of these forums online and you see all these people talking about, geared up shit. So many people out there are doing so much shit. I have a couple friends that have died on stage and gone absolutely fucking batshit crazy. All right. Because they're taking the wrong kind of shit. Trend, don't ever fucking do trend. That is just domestic assault in a fucking bottle. And that is just not a good idea. Okay. Just my 2 cents. And I digress. But anyways, so June 23rd, we have Venus exactly opposed to Pluto. All right. And then we have Mars at 7 degrees, Saturn at 12 degrees, which is coming up. So with the divine feminine and the divine masculine, all right, both in good, positive, solid aspects, opposing Pluto and Saturn, this is deep transformation. Okay. What's wrong with Tren? Well, Tren is so highly anabolic and androgenic that it actually causes necrosis in the interstitial tissue in the testes. So basically, when you take that, it makes you angry as fuck, okay? And it's oversaturating your body, and you're basically poisoning yourself. You're getting really strong, but it's gonna kill your sex drive, and it's actually gonna destroy your interstitial cells, so that when you do get off someday, you're literally not going to have as many cells down there to reproduce natural testosterone. It's basically killing any potential or any ability for your body to come back to life naturally and normally. It is so dangerous. I had a friend that was doing that, and he was so angry all the time. The dude, like, he almost killed his father. It was ridiculous, and he was a pain in the ass to be around. Okay. Yeah, it'll make you solid and hard and shredded, but there are many other safer ways to do that without that shit. It's made for horses, for Christ's sake. Like, it's not made for human consumption. Okay. But a lot of gearheads will jump on that shit, and the shit makes you smell so bad too. And then you can get trend dick as well, because it's actually not testosterone. It's a type of progesterone. So you can start lactating from that shit too, because it actually creates because it's a progesterone derivative, it'll actually start the lactation process. So I've seen guys that have got bitch tits and they're squirting fucking milk out of their titties. All right, it's not good. And then and there's only one drug that you can take, cabergoline, in order to suppress that, and then that throws everything else off in your hypothalamus and your brain. And then you're going to have a lack of dopamine for years after that, because it really hyperactivates the dopamine energetic, and then it really dramatically increases your susceptibility to addiction to other drugs, because now your neurotransmitters are way off and way all over the place. Okay, stay away from that. I highly encourage you to not. You don't need it if you're working on yourself right, and really too, everybody that I know that's ever taken Tren has serious body dysmorphia. They're big, they're shredded, but they think they're small, and it feeds that body dysmorphia, and it really psychologically fucks you up. All right, so that's my 2 cents, and you can obviously do what you wish with it. All right, 24th, so 23rd, 24th, 25th, big energies, and then of course we're gonna have the moon on the 25th. That's gonna be conjuncting Pluto. And Venus is still going to be in its orb with it opposing Pluto. So with the moon there, this is going to make it deeply emotional. This is going to be all about commitment and connections and relationships, and looking at the people in our lives, and like, are they serving our highest and best good, or am I sacrificing my happiness or myself or what I really want to do with my life purpose to this? And with the moon being there, it's going to hit us deeply emotionally in our gut. All right. So big transformation, or big, you're making some course corrections, if you will, this week with all these energies, and they're fundamental, and they're going to be internal. All right. A lot of deep thoughts. This is where we can really get in our heads. So we got to be careful about that. And, you have to honor your heart, guys. We have to all honor our hearts and be straight up with ourselves to move through this. But good thing is, you know, we have this grand fire trine pretty much all week. Actually, like for like the next 2 weeks. On the 27th, we also have Venus moving into Leo. So, you know, Venus likes being in Leo too. It's going to be a nice placement. And then, of course, on the 26th, 27th, we're going to be having the moon that's going to be connecting to Saturn, and that's going to be opposing Mars. So that is digging down into the emotional aspects of the structure and the foundation of moving into this Aquarian energy. And then later on the 28th, it's going to be conjuncting Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is still pretty fresh in retrograde as well. So, you know, this is really highlighting, making very big our spiritual gifts or the things that we want to move to in a deeper spiritual sense. This to me feels like really fine tuning what our life purpose is and really moving into an understanding how to do that and why we want to do that, right? So that's what I got for you guys for this week's energy report. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and it's gonna be a big one. Just remember to let go of control and allow everything to unfold as it does. Try not to take things personal. Also, try not to get in, you know, initiate or get into like conflicts this week, because the conflicts are probably going to get blown out of proportion and people are going to be emotionally responding as opposed to really understanding. Take a step back and really look at the whole, you know, you can't see the forest of the trees, right? So take a step back and look at the whole enchilada before you decide to make any permanent decisions. All right. And on that note, I am going to peace out, yo. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you'd like a reading from me, please go to spiritualbodybuilder.com. I'd love to work with you. And let's keep making this world a better place. All right. I love you all very much. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.